Doctors Without Borders, who are you guys sort of currently sort of fighting with? I mean, what are the biggest challenges you guys are facing?
So I think on a global scale, I think the challenges with drug-resistant TB is new drugs. So getting better regimens for people. On a more local or sort of local scale in terms of the National Department of Health, we're really battling to encourage them to decentralize more quickly. So they're making steps in the right direction. So in 2011, they endorsed a policy of decentralization, but people still can't go to their primary care clinic across the rest of South Africa and access treatment. So we're really pushing for that decentralization to occur more quickly and more comprehensively.
So this caught my eye in the press release. Last year's budget speech, the health minister committed to a massive decentralization process from 100 to 2,500 decentralized sites to date. 4 years after the policy was released, only 70 sites exist. Those numbers are not encouraging at all.
That's true. So the decentralization at present is still occurring within hospitals. So they're saying that people don't need to go to a specialist hospital, but they still need to go to a hospital, which is still really restricting access to care. And what's needed is investment in training and capacitating local primary care clinics in order to deal with the epidemic. And in addition to that, it's not just resources that are needed, it's raised awareness amongst the staff, because there's a lot of stigma around DRTB and people don't want to treat people in their clinics because they're afraid of getting the disease themselves.
I mean, you talk about stigma, how does that stigma then play into the stigma around HIV? Often TB is a sort of catalyst for that.
Absolutely. So around 75% of our DRTB patients have HIV infection as well. But just because you have DRTB doesn't necessarily mean you have HIV, but that's an assumption that lots of people make. And so it is hugely stigmatizing. The other stigma associated with drug-resistant TB is that people think you got it because you didn't take your normal TB treatment properly, which is not the case anymore. So now we see that over half of our drug-resistant cases have never had TB in the past. So you might find somebody who's 20 years old, HIV negative, ex-DRTB for the first time ever, never had TB in their lives before, and that's not uncommon.
Tell us about some of your success stories.
Yeah, so some of the successes of our decentralized model is that not only are we getting the majority of our patients onto treatment, but we're also dramatically reducing the time from somebody being diagnosed to actually getting on treatment. So before we started in 2007, it was about 2.5 months that people had to wait to get onto treatment. During that time, remember I said you're infectious if you're not on treatment. So in that 2.5 months, you're spreading DRTB across the community, or you die because you don't have treatment. However, now in 2014, it was down to 6 days. So from coming to the clinic to actually starting treatment. So that's dramatically reduced the chance of transmission in the community. The other success that we've shown is that we recently did a cost analysis of the decentralized model, and we found that it's around 40% cheaper to treat people in the community in a decentralized model than it is to send everybody to hospital. So it makes sense that you can get more people on treatment, and it's cheaper to do it if you decentralize.
And then how does the Western Cape compare to the rest of South Africa?
So the Western Cape,
with this approach, the decentralized approach.
Yeah, so fortunately, the Western Cape, a lot of the sub-districts have taken on the model of the Khayelitsha decentralized model, so it is the same model across most sub-districts, which is really, really progressive, I think. And most people, if you're diagnosed in the Western Cape, you can go to your local primary healthcare clinic anywhere and get treatment. Compared to the rest of South Africa, where, as I said, less than 50% of patients actually get onto treatment, and that's because they have to go to a specialist hospital.
Jane, final question, how can people best protect themselves from catching drug-resistant TB?
So on a more public health scale, really what we need to be doing is diagnosing everybody that's got it, because then you can get them onto treatment, and then they're less infectious in the community. On a more sort of personal level for families, if you know a member of your family is coughing and it looks like they might have TB, you need to encourage them to go and get onto treatment, because then you yourself will be safer and that person will have a chance of survival. In primary healthcare settings, in clinics, people often wear masks. Also make sure there's good ventilation in the room, so whenever you're in a crowded space such as a taxi or a clinic, open the windows, wear your masks if you know you're at high risk.